Hello, Arild Tveiten, sport director and headquartered from the Norwegian team. I'm happy to be a guest on the Physical Performance Show and reflecting a little bit on the Olympic success and also some of the success for our athletes going into the Ironman and longer distance.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go.
There he is, coming down, about to lap someone else, 250 to the aid station. He won't need any assistance. Wow, he starts to think about what he has achieved. He is powering away from Yi. He will turn now into the final straightaway, and fittingly 100 metres to go from here, the best 100 metres of his life. What a way to do it. He has blown them away. Can't believe it. Kristian Blummenfelt, number 3 in Olympic rankings, number 2 in the world, and about to become the Olympic champion. How about that? Blummenfelt blossoms in Tokyo, triathlon gold for Norway in 2020.
And that was Kristian Blummenfelt securing Norway's first triathlon Olympic medal, let alone the gold medal in a stunning performance. Welcome to episode 303 of the Physical Performance Show, how to win Olympic gold, with repeat guest of the show, Triathlon Norway's head coach and sports director, Arild Tveiten. Now, Arild featured on the Physical Performance Show back on a Coach's Corner episode in July of 2020. And here we are, December 2021, and it's exciting to have the opportunity to review the Olympic cycle that led to Norway's success. Now, not only did Kristian Blummenfelt take out the Olympic Games gold medal, his fellow athletes all had very solid performances, making Norway the best performed team individually at the Olympic Games. Kristian Blummenfelt went on to win the overall World Triathlon Series title, to be the only athlete to do so in triathlon's history, before then smashing the Ironman Triathlon world record in Cozumel, Mexico, which we've recently featured on the show. Meanwhile, his Olympic teammate Gustav Eden took out his second 70.3 Ironman World Championship title. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Polar and their brand new Vantage V2 multi-sport watch, their most formidable watch to date. It's a stunning timepiece worn by some of the world's best endurance athletes. As always, we aim to bring you the latest and greatest information and inspiration designed to help you perform at your physical best. So get set with your pen and paper for this week's Coach's Corner episode with Arild Tveiten, Triathlon Norway's head coach and sports director. How to win Olympic gold. Arild Tveiten, welcome back to the Physical Performance Show.
Thank you, Brad. I'm really happy to be here again.
Well, last time we spoke, it was July 2020, and the Olympic Games, Tokyo 2020/2021, had been pushed out to July of 2021, and the world was in a state of flux. And you shared very openly around your top 3 endurance training principles, being train at high volume, pay attention to the intensity distribution, and recover well. And here we are, several months post the Olympic Games, and Norway delivered a gold medal. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That was, of course, a really amazing performance from Kristian. And we're really happy with the whole team and everything. So it's been a really good season, and we have been performing really well at the big races, and we are really happy for that, of course.
The team's performance was the best performing nation of the Olympic Games in the individual races. So obviously, Kristian raced to gold there in 1 hour, 45 minutes, 4 seconds. Gustav Eden was in 8th and Kasper Stornes was in 11th on the men's side. And then Kenji Nina, your adopted training buddy there from Japan, the Australia was also performed well.
Yeah. We were happy for Kenji. The Australian adapted into Japanese and been able to train a little bit with us. Of course, he has his own coaches in Japan, but I've been working together with the Japanese team the last 2 years, and we get to know Kenji quite well. And we are really happy that he improved the way he did. And I think it shows that even, as I said, he has his own coaches. They adapted a lot of the principles that we have. And we see that can make a big change for almost any athletes if you just give it some time. So it's good to see that the program is working also for other athletes from other countries.
Yeah, that's a great point, Arild. On the Olympic Games, going into it, obviously your athletes were showing great form with some World Triathlon Series victories there, Yokohama, for example, then again in Portugal. And there were some murmurs that maybe Kristian specifically had peaked too early. But I think it became very clear when he took the Olympic gold that no, he hadn't peaked early at all. And I know that was all very strategic, that build phase and the racing phase. What were the I guess the keys to seeing Kristian stay fresh and not injured with such a heavy racing schedule leading into the Olympic Games?
In many ways, of course, the racing schedule in May was quite intense, but we had a really good build-up towards that, and we have been able to train continuously in many months with no injury at all. So he was very well trained, very well prepared with both. Been away since January when we traveled to Japan. So I would say that the preparation leading up to the first race in the season was really well. No setback in terms of injuries, and everything was actually going according to plan. You see that for him and a lot of athletes, they pay a lot of attention to all small details, a little bit extra leading up to the Olympic year. So they try to do everything as best as they can to avoid injuries, don't overdo it. And we are more like leading up to the Olympics. It's not that you should do something extra or something a little bit more. You should do what you know you can handle and try to execute it really well and pay attention to recovery and nutrition and all small part of it. And that was the thing going quite well leading up to the races. But of course, we have to say that traveling to Japan, staying almost indoor the whole week, very limited ability to train, then go back to Portugal or Europe, a lot of changes in time zones within short time. It was, of course, challenging, and we saw that he was not at the perfect shape all the time, but we knew that it's not that you have 4 weeks of racing that you are peaking too early, because it's all with the goal in the other hand that we want to perform at the Olympics. So for Kristian, we saw that kind of racing schedule, that was something he wanted to do. For the others on the team, we did some changes, so they didn't do all. But in the end, it turned out quite well.
Very, very well. Leading into the actual Olympic Games, your squad spent, or the team, I should say, spent 8 days in Miyazaki before going into the Olympic Village. What were some of the key focuses in that pre-staging camp, I guess, before the actual Olympic Village experience?
The main thing is that to do the last part of the heat acclimatization, to be really prepared for the heat. We of course started that before when we were in Europe and we were at altitude in Cozumel. You also did some heat preparation there, but going into Japan earlier was to have a good block of the last preparation of heat acclimatization. It was, of course, the time zone adaptation, so you don't have any trouble with that. And at last, of course, to do the right last preparation with the good training, the special race specific rig sessions, and all the things that we knew that would be difficult to do when you come into the Olympic Village. So we knew that when you're coming into Olympic Village, all the big part of the training need to be finished. So it's not like you can come early into the village and do a lot of hard specific training, because it's so limited what you can do in training there. So for us, it was all the really hard session, the race-specific session. We were working a lot of the bike-run transition, having technical courses that we are preparing quite specific for the race. That was perfect for us to do in Miyazaki. And the last thing is that we were there almost alone. Okay, we have someone from the Japanese team, but it was really a good time to relax and prepare for the races. It was no stress, no point of being nervous for anything. It's a lot of extra attention when you're coming into the Olympic Village and the race is almost there. So it's good to have it's good to have done all the important preparation before going into Tokyo.
So it's really just putting the icing on the cake, so to speak.
Yeah, it is. And for us, it's like, that when you come to Japan, most of the training should have been done, and that just the last part of it, the last small preparation to try to give you the little bit extra.
Come race day, can you remember the last piece of advice you issued your charges, your athletes? Was there a pep talk?
No, we didn't have any specific pep talk, but what we actually were talking about all days in Tokyo, that we were ready. We have done everything as good as we can. It was nothing we couldn't have done differently. So we tried to just give the athletes the confidence that they were ready. And it was like, okay, the last days you can do whatever you think you need of training, but we are there for you. We know we are ready. Don't stress. And I think both me and Olav Alexander, who was there, we were very calm. We knew that the preparation has been perfect. So I think that we didn't need to say so much. That I think the athletes knew that they were ready. They saw by our coaches that we were ready, and they gave everyone a kind of they were quite calm and confident about what they should do. Of course, you have the nervousness going into a race, and the biggest race this year. Of course, you feel the pressure, but I strongly believe that they felt really ready and prepared for the race and wasn't so nervous about it.
That meticulous preparation, that uninterrupted lead-in without injury, it can only ensue confidence. When the work's done, you can take to the start line with a degree of confidence. I liked your Instagram post on the day. It might have been the morning or perhaps the day before, but you captioned it, Arild, ready to go. After the Rio Olympics, we were so motivated that we just started the process towards the Tokyo Olympic Games. And now we are here. We know that we have done everything we can to be prepared for these 2 days of racing and could not have done anything different. So just bring it on. We are ready. So there's a declaration of confidence.
Yeah, quite a big confidence there. But of course, we were confident that we were prepared. But we, of course, knew that everyone tried to prepare it the same way, as good as I can. So you always think about what if someone else has something new coming up, but it sums it up quite well there. We were so ready as we could be, and we felt confident. The team were confident. that is something that you don't have every day. It's a lot of races you do during the year that you are maybe not so prepared because of a lot of different reasons. And then it's not always the best to be the coach or be the athlete there, because you need to do the race, but you are not where you wanted to be. But now everyone were ready. So yeah, it's good.
And do you think that extra 12 months helped the program, the team?
Yes. We were, of course, very sure and talk about the athletes that 1 year extra gave us 1 year extra with good preparation. That was something we were very clear about and communicate well with the athletes. But between our coaches, we were having discussion because we thought that leading up to the test event in 2019 that we knew something about heat declinization that were better than the other countries. So we also knew that with 1 year extra of preparation for athletes, it also means that the sports scientists or coaches in other teams have 1 more year extra to try to get into and find some of the key things that we did, especially for heat preparation. And we knew that some countries were better prepared in the Olympics than they were before the test event. But we are still happy that we were able to be 1 step ahead of them. Your
program's sports scientist, Coach Olav Alexander Boo, who you graciously connected me with recently, who just featured on episode, outlined some of the training, I guess, principles and sports science that the team was adopting going into Tokyo. One of the things that jumped out, Arild, that I thought was fascinating but not surprising was that the Norwegian team had a test event before the test event in 2019. I didn't ask Olav, was that conducted in Japan or was that something done in Europe?
No, it started the first time we did it. It was in the Thailand camp. We had a heat camp in 2019, and there we did actually 2 test events with body core pills in the body to measure the core temperature and rise of the core temperature, and that were where we actually get some quite interesting data that we was using leading towards the test event. Yes.
So that was conducted in Thailand. The actual race itself, Arild, can you just talk through the key moments of the race from your lens? What were your thought processes? Were there moments where you weren't happy that it was going to plan? And was there a moment where you thought, this could really happen? The culmination of coaching these juniors from the junior ranks to now potentially an Olympic medalist, potentially an Olympic champion.
Wow. Yeah, I would say that in many ways, the race turned out quite what we expected it to be. I would say that one of the things that we were a little bit disappointed with afterwards, that especially for the men's team, that Gustav was not there in the beginning of the run, and Kasper was falling a little bit apart. But except for that, the distance back on the stream were more or less what we expected it to be. Gustav was a little bit farther behind than we thought, but we were not so surprised that he caught up to the team, but with the main group. But that was also a little bit tricky because he was coming out of the water with all the Spanish team, Mario Mola, Gomez, and we knew that if Gustav is going to be in the main group, in the end, he probably will push them to the group too. So that was, I was not so nervous, but you thought that, okay, is that a good strategy, or maybe he just should stay behind? But we were quite certain that they hadn't shown any good fitness the last year, so we were not so afraid of them on the run. But on the bike, it's turned out quite like it's quite good. You have a leading group, and the distance to them, it's within reachable time of, so you can take it within 1 or 2 laps, and it's very good to have some of the athletes in front, because the athletes in front, they need to push because they need to see if they could get away or increase the gap. And Kristian and Kasper just couldn't stay behind and control it all. And when Gustav come up, it was quite easy for them to catch the first group. And in many ways, it's also good that Andreas Salzberg went alone solo on the last 2 laps to bridge up a little bit gap, because he was not a contender on the run. And then it, of course, come down to the run. We were very sure that it will be a race scenario like this. So we knew that if you should win, you need to outrun the best runners in the world. We were, of course, paying really attention to especially Alex G. We also thought and knew that Hayden Wilde would be there. Of course, Vincent Louis, we were expected to be there. But Martin van Riel, but it was not any surprise. So it was still, I was there, still kind of confident and felt, okay, this is going the way we thought it would be. But of course, you're never sure that are Kristian able to actually outrun Alex and Hayden, because it was the pace was really high. And if you look back at the time splits that did now compared to the test event, it was more than 1 minute faster run than 2 years ago. So of course the level has increased, and it was a tough run. And but I still felt confident when going out on the last lap. I saw, of course, they were just 3 together. We knew it would be medal. So I just say to Kristian, you are in control, just do what you need to do, and you know what to do. Or I can't remember exactly what I say, but it was, he knew exactly what he should try to attack on the last lap, and that he did. And but as a coach, it's very difficult because you are standing there at the finish line and you want to. The only way you can see the race is by on the big TV screen, but you also want to try to give feedback to the others, and you also want to try to get over to the finish line so you can meet him, and that is obviously not possible to do everything at once. So it's very strange feeling actually, because you knew he would win. You see he win, you see he running through and he made an attack, and you see going to the finish line and win. But it was incredible. But in the end, as I said, that the race turned out to be the way that we hope it should be, and the race strategy was what was planned for. And I think a lot of the athletes expected that the race could be down to the run. And we were, of course, not lucky, but we were really happy that Kristian was the strongest that day.
Oh, wow. And it was quite an iconic image, breaking the tape in the Norwegian outfit there, and then not long after being whisked off in the wheelchair. I think that's classic, what the world's come to expect from Kristian Blummenfelt, that he will extract every bit of potential out of his body when he takes to a start line. He'll go to a very dark place. So I personally love to see that level of commitment, because I think it does wonders for the sport of triathlon in the eyes of spectators to see just how talented, hardworking and dedicated triathletes are at an Olympic level.
Yeah, all of them are. And but we see that, I think that Kristian is the one who's able to push a little bit extra. And he has said it many times that it's better to really, really hurt yourself for a short amount of time than to hurt yourself in many years because you lose a race.
Gosh. I mean, on his first episode of the Physical Performance Show here, Arild, he let known his strategy several years earlier that he would attack with a K to go. And it was almost like a textbook strategy.
Yeah, it was. And as I said, that it's not a surprise for anyone. But that is the way he can actually win a race at that level. He doesn't have the real sprint finish that many other athletes have, but he's able to suffer and he's able to keep the pace. Everyone is thinking that he's increasing the pace a lot the last K, but he is not. It's just mostly that the other athletes are not able to keep up the pace at the end. They are losing time compared to the pace they have had earlier. So he is really able to suffer. And but that is his way of racing. And I knew that someone said to him, but in Edmonton, when you won the grand final, you win a really big sprint finish. And he said, no, I started the sprint 1K out before the finish line. I was just happy that I was able to keep it a little bit longer than the others.
Well, yeah, I know he said in Tokyo, he was sprinting every 10 or 15 meters. He'd just go again, and get there.
Yeah.
And then obviously post Tokyo, yourself, Kristian, went on to collect the World Triathlon Series title, which I believe is historic, to take the World Championship, the series and the Olympic gold. Hadn't been done, and it didn't end there. From there, Kristian, that is, then went to obviously set the Ironman world record on debut, 7:21:12. What a year. I want to ask, though, Arild, for yourself in your role, head coach of the Norwegian Triathlon Team Federation, how has life changed for you on the other side of the Olympics? What have things been like back home? You've made it clear in the past that initially it was a group of promising juniors with big ambitions, that you had a lot of learning to do. And this is a beautiful story of sport, of the process of moving from here to there. How has recognition for the sport of triathlon, recognition for the athletes changed with the Olympic success?
It's very strange to say it, but in Norway, very little. We are it was a lot of attention when Kristian won the gold medal in Tokyo, but after that it's been quite quiet, because 1 week after we have some of the big famous Norwegian names in track and field who started winning their gold medals, and all the attention went into them. So we see that the attention is much bigger attention for the rest of the world than we have in Norway. So Kristian is probably one of the less known Olympic gold medalist athletes in Norway at all. Very few people actually know who it is. And it was still when we are coming back to Norway, when we were going with the Olympic uniforms on the last flight from Frankfurt to Oslo. And there comes the Olympic gold medalist, and no one in on the plane who was Norwegian had a clue who was there. And we see that we didn't get so much attention nationwide on it. So, and of course, Kristian get invited to do some TV shows and stuff like that, but he hasn't been home so much, so he hasn't entered any of them. And but the big things that is a little bit disappointed, and that is a part of the bigger picture, because we are working on the development program to work with the younger athletes, the juniors, and we need more funding to do that in a proper way. And we hope that this situation can solve it for the Norwegian team. But right now, we don't see any big changes. It's obviously a big change for Kristian, because the attention he gets from his sponsors and all the thing is a big difference for him. But for we as a national team, it's no big difference. And now we are working towards the 2024. We should have more funding, because we need more coaches, because it's really trouble to have someone who wants to commit themselves so much to do the job. We need to step up the game of how we work with the juniors. And so I'm taking a bigger part of trying to solve that now. And because we need to solve that to have a long sustainable system that could provide medals from Norway in the next years. Of course, we know that on short terms leading up to Paris, we have a good pool of athletes. We have the athletes we have. We want to work with them. We pay a little bit extra attention on the women's part now, because we want to succeed in the mixed relay. It's really important. And we have 3 girls on the national team, and we need 2 of them on the mixed relay. So it's not that we can lose so many of them. So we need to work with all 3 in a good way and a sustainable way. So all of them can improve in a way that we should be a top contender for the mixed relay in Paris. So that is some of the things we are working with now. But we hope that the funding could be better. So if you have any big international sponsor who want to support Little Norway, you just contact me.
Well, Arild, firstly, I think many people will be disappointed to hear that for the sake of what you've collectively achieved, but also surprised. I certainly am. I know that in the past there'd been funding challenges, but I just assumed, obviously incorrectly, that would very much have changed with the success of Tokyo. And as you mentioned, one of the draw cards of an Olympic gold medal is the junior influx that you then see with kids wanting to be their new national hero. We see that in Australia with swimming. We've seen it over the years with other sports. So obviously concerning. Are you what does the actual structure look like, if you're able to? You may or may not be able to share around this, but how big is the outfit? Like, we know other nations have quite sizable outfits with federations and teams and funding, but it's from my knowledge, it's a pretty bare bones type of staffing. Yourself, I'll have Alexandra Boo. I believe Michael Eden has at times contributed. Any other key members of the team?
Yes, you mentioned the most important one, and especially the one who has been working with the elite athletes. But of course, we have had a national coach who's located in Bergen, who's in charge of the swim training. But that is something we will change. He will have a not so important role anymore. He will still work for the team, but in less position. And then we have a development team, and their development team have a national coach who's working with the athletes on the development team. That's 16 athletes, and that is also a part of our kind of a coaching, mentoring group, the development of the coaches, because of course the development athletes have coaches who are working in the club structure. So I pay a lot of attention to try to work on developing them. But when it comes to the national team, the elite athletes, and also the juniors, it is me who is in charge of everything. And we have Olav Alexander, who's now working more closely with Kristian, and also in overall all the technology use of that. And we have Mikael, who is taking charge of more of the like the athletes like Gustav and Kasper. He's working with some of the other athletes. So most of the team are built around us, and we are doing everything. And at the level we want to do and to be at, that is in a way quite challenging. Me, in my position, I'm also the sport director, performance director, so I'm also in charge of building the program, going down to development team, the coaches there, the staff there, and everything. So that is quite busy to fill up the time. So I have So we are a very little team. But the good thing that if we are not so many, we need to find a really good way to work, and it's much easier to do something when you are not too many. We see some countries that have so many coaches with them that I think that they don't know what the other coaches do. And then you actually start losing control because there are too many. And it's always a balance, of course. And I hope that we can have more coaches, but the one we have is the best in the class. So the team together, we are really happy for the one we have. So it's a fantastic team.
You're listening to Triathlon Norway's head coach and sports director, Arild Tveiten, discussing how to win an Olympic gold medal after Kristian Blummenfelt's historic Tokyo 2021 Olympic gold in the men's triathlon. Support for today's show comes from Polar. Polar have an incredible heritage. Headquartered in Finland, they have been the global driving force behind scientific wearables for over 40 years. They are the pioneers in and the world leaders in heart rate measurement technology. Coming from the heart of the Nordics, just like today's featured guest, Polar have the experience, insight, and history of quality design and innovation which is unparalleled. Worn by some of the best athletes on the planet, if you're looking to get back and beat your best, then perhaps it's time for a Polar multi-sport watch. Jump over to polar.com. Explore the world of Polar and their brand new military-grade GritX Pro, the toughest watch out there, and also the new Vantage V2 in stunning Polar red. It is a real beauty, one of the lightest multi-sport watches on the market. Now, the team have offered up to 15% off selected products by using the code TPPS at checkout. Jump over to polar.com. For now, let's jump back with this week's featured guest, Arild Tveiten, Triathlon Norway's head coach and sports director, reflecting on how to win Olympic gold. When I think about part of the Norwegian team's success from the outside looking in, I think about the known limitation of resources breeding or fueling innovation, that out of some of the limitations have come wonderful innovations, whether that's the Trimtex tri-suit that the world saw run across the line to victory there in Tokyo with the fabric and all the technology that went into that, or anything else that the Norwegian team does. Would you agree that out of the limitations, though, has really, as you say, been birthed a sense of innovation? Let's do more with less.
Yes, of course. I think we have the one who has been doing most with less, and also the culture in Norway is different. And let's say that we are working with Trimtex. That's a Norwegian brand, quite new to triathlon. But I had the first meeting with them regarding the Tokyo suit in 2018. And then I sit down with the owner of the company and also the product manager and said, we want to have the best racing suit in the world. And he said, yes. How should we approach that? And then we have a dialogue. And I will not make any offense, but leading up to the Rio Olympics, we had 2XU. It's a quite big Australian company. When we start trying the same conversation, there was no, we know what to do. We will do it. Now we said, no, I think it could be done better. No, we don't listen to you. You need to listen to us. So that is a really, really different approach. And then, of course, on the top of that, when Trimtex is working with the textile and stuff like that, then it's Olav who is the genius to know how to test it out, to use the velodrome, to use the use of the technology and everything to try to get the best out of the textile that Trimtex has decided was the best. And that is what we did there. We did almost the same with the aero bars. That was also going to little company who is producing the aero bars and coming up with an idea how it could work. And it's Olav who is moving the project further. He is coming from kind of innovation companies and build-up companies working with that. So he's a genius on that part. So it's in many ways it's good to be little, because that is some of the things that have been too difficult to do if we are really a big country, a lot of coaches or big international companies who should support us with equipment, because then it very often come down to that they think they know better. And we are not involved in the process.
And if anyone missed Olav's Alexander Boo's prior episode, do go back and listen, because Olav speaks about the development of the suit in detail. And as you say, I think I would summarize my reflections on his sharings as just genius. So, with the cockpit, the aero bars, and Olav mentioned that your program now has companies wanting to work with you proactively to develop things from the ground up, rather than here's a widget we built, go use that. They're coming to you saying, can you help us optimize this? So it seems like momentum will beget momentum.
Yeah. Now we see that. And if you're coming to high-tech product, the new technology, we got a lot of people who are interested in working with us because they know that they need us to develop that to a new level. And if you bring in Olav in some of that part, he is always a guy who can take it to the next level, because he know what to do in almost every aspect of it. And but it's also time consuming, so sometimes it's just a little bit too much for him. He's doing too much on all the small details that is just crazy. So he's a big part of this group, and I'm bringing him just a little bit leading up to the Olympics in Rio. But then he was just there. We do some testing and some things with Kristian, but he didn't actually influence anything about training or anything. And then after Olympics, we start talking, okay, what do you think we should do to try to go to the next level? And then we find out that, okay, you need to work with us on a more permanent basis, because he's the one who's taking some of the training-wise, the new theories, try to do everything a little bit better, how accurate we are with the intensity control and everything. I can say that the main principle in training has been the same in many, many years, but it's always an evolution. And we don't do so many mistakes now as we did before. No, it's a learning process. Is also learning by your mistakes. But now we are trying to not do so much mistake and just moving almost in the right direction all the time.
The power of doing more laps and, as you say, learning from the mistakes. I think a theme emerges here, Arild, of the team's approach, and that is the power, I guess the word power as well, of humility, and being able to, and even your leadership, to say, right, how can we do things better? To ask that question rather than assuming that you do know best as a team, as a coach, even the athletes. It seems to be, there's a great confidence. It comes with the success that your team have had, but there's also it's a fascinating humility that you model, you example, Olav, the athletes. Where does that come from? Is that modeled by you in your role, or is that just innate amongst you? It's different in other nations, I've observed.
I should not brag so much about myself, but I think I'm the big part of that. I say to in other podcasts that I'm not very good in the technical skills. I don't know too much about the physiology of training. Okay, obviously I know a lot, but I'm quite average in a lot of part of the coaching thing. But I think I'm pretty good with people, pretty good to find the right people, pretty good to make everyone going in the same direction. I'm kind of driven, but I always want to be better, always want to improve. And I think that is a part of me. It's not the others on the team is, of course, driven by the same values, but as the sport director, I'm the one who need to try to make everyone go in the same direction and at the same time. And that is when you have a team with big individuals, and both on the athlete side and on the coach's side, that is something you need to work on, and it's not something you should take for sure. And I think that is something I think I'm pretty good at, but in most other aspects I'm pretty average, I think.
It's great self-awareness, but it's also fantastic leadership, as you say, to be able to get everyone going in the same direction. When you do have individuals with aspirations and goals, but everyone's there to support each other. Ultimately, I really enjoyed some of the behind the scenes, must have been on Instagram and stories, etc., of the team celebrating the success. Obviously, it was Kristian Blummenfelt's gold medal, but it was more than that. It was the team's collective success. I think you sat down, had a pizza, And I just thought everyone was happy. Obviously, athletes on the men's side and women's side had some degree of reflection on disappointment, whether it was Gustav or Casper and what they had of hoped for. But everyone was there and looking genuinely happy for what Kristian had accomplished individually, but more so the team. That's a great example of a healthy culture.
I agree on that. And we had a good time after the race and the Olympics, and we are, of course, happy with that. And but it's not like we wanted to go out and have a big party and a big celebration for us. We brought in some pizza in the village. We invited some of our Japanese friends, and we sat down in the little tiny room and had a good time together, and that was enough for us. Enjoyed it ourselves.
Simple, and then back to work. Back to work for World Series and Ironmans. You're listening to Triathlon Norway's head coach and sports director, Arild Tveiten, reflecting on how to win Olympic gold after Kristian Blummenfelt secured Norway's first Olympic triathlon medal, in fact, the gold medal in Tokyo 2021. Support for today's show also comes from Precision Hydration. I caught up recently with Andy Blow, co-founder of Precision Hydration, who shared around Precision Hydration's most recent developments.
Yeah, Brad, it's been a great project this last year because what athletes want to know is how much fluid, how much sodium, how much carbohydrate they need to take in per hour. And we know from all the studies we've done, we know from all the scientific evidence out there that those numbers are quite varied between individuals. So what we've been working hard to do is pull together a bunch of case studies for athletes across a range of endurance sports, triathlon, running, cycling, swimming, to see how much fluid, how much sodium, how much carbohydrate are people taking in per hour, and then how successful they've been in their events. And the idea with these case studies isn't that they're up there for people to copy, but they're to get your head around the numbers that might work for you and to give you a platform to build on. And then in conjunction with the tools that we've got on the website, like the online sweat test, the quick carb calculator, you can dive in and use those tools to get your numbers sorted out and start that trial and error process to see how much fluid, how much sodium, how much carb is going to work for you when you're out there competing in the summer heat.
Thank you, Andy. Now, the Precision Hydration team have generously offered 15% off your first electrolyte order or any of the products from their brand new fuel range by simply using the code TPPS at checkout over at precisionhydration.com, and do take the online sweat test and use the quick carb calculator. And support for today's show comes also from AMP, Human and Momentous, building the future of human performance. AMP Human are the creators of the globally popular and sought after PR lotion. Now, AMP Human and Momentous have merged together to build the future of human performance. Specifically, PR lotion, used by some of the world's best endurance athletes and sporting teams, including Eliud Kipchoge for Ineos 159, is a lotion designed to maximize your training and recovery by unlocking bicarb, a natural electrolyte that improves muscle function, helping you to combat fatigue during your hardest workouts. Train, compete, repeat with AMP Human and PR Lotion. Now, the team have generously offered 25% off when you buy your PR Lotion from the AMP Human brand store over at bikeexchange.com. Simply use the code TPPS25 at checkout. Get your hands on the PR Lotion. For now, let's jump back with this week's featured guest, Arild Tveiten, Triathlon Norway's sports director and head coach, reflecting on how to win an Olympic gold. We've asked Olav his reflection and Kristian his reflection on what happened in Cozumel. I might put you on the spot, Arild, and ask you your percentage scorecard for Kristian's performance. Both Olav and Kristian said 89%. Would you grade him a percentage of his execution on that day?
Yeah, I would say so. It was good, but it could always be better. But and that's also the way we are in our culture. But I have to say that in general, I would say that we were not too nervous about both Kristian and also Gustav going to the Ironman distance. But of course, we were thinking after the Olympics, could we actually change the engine to be so good at an Ironman distance in so short time? And we had a little bit time that we were having discussion that could we do it, but in the end we were quite sure that they could do it. And when it come to the race, yes, it was good, but there's a lot of learnings from it. But to be the first time, you need to be happy.
Yeah, amazing. I think it was maybe 6 and 7 weeks respectively for Gustav and Kristian to turn around and do an Ironman. So you can only imagine with a longer training block, there's got to be more room for improvement. It's a cliched question, Arild, but what advice would you give to your coaching self on this side of an Olympic gold medal starting out in your coaching career? If you could go back and say one thing to the younger version of yourself in coaching, what would it be now, having had such great success over time?
That I should have thought about a little bit more. It's a little bit tricky. In some terms, it goes both ways. But in some terms, I could be a little bit more patient when I was younger as a coach. But on the other hand, that is some of the driving force that you're leading to the results we have today. But I knew that especially the younger version of myself was quite impatient, and especially if you have to deal with injuries, I had a tendency to push it a little bit too much, too hard, too early. You do all that kind of mistake because you always want to move on. And that is probably some of the things you have learned. But it's also a balance, because if you are too conservative about all your things you do, you will not have the improvement you need to do.
Sounds like rehabilitation, Arild. You don't want it to be too aggressive, but you don't want it to be too conservative. Arild, we must ask you, with an Olympic gold medal to the program's record sheet now, what your top tip to help listeners perform at their physical best is in 2021. You shared back on 2020. What's your top tip for listeners out there going to be off the back of the team's success this year?
Yeah, it's a broad question. So it's still some of the things that the intensity distribution of our training is actually something that work on all athletes. So I think you should pay really good attention that you are going at a low intensity when you should, and at the right high intensity when you should do intervals, and try to balance it all. As myself, trying now to get a little bit more fitter for racing myself, I know that I need to pay a lot of more attention to recovery than I need to do before. So for the normal average athletes out there, don't underestimate a recovery and sleep and the good nutrition. That's a part that a lot of, especially age groupers, don't take the time to. They squeeze in so much training they can possibly do, and they forgot the recovery, and then it's going to be too much at some point.
Yeah, gosh, the power of the simple but so important things. And Arild, final question: gold medal coach, gold medal program. Let's issue a new physical challenge. So it's 12 plus months on. You issued a great challenge last time. What is Arild Tveiten's physical challenge going to be to listeners? A gold medal challenge.
Yeah, it should be maybe some really challenging things. But then, as I said, I'm trying to do a little bit comeback to do an Ironman next year. So I now enjoy going to the pool and do swim. And so for next week, I advise all the listeners, and including myself, to do 51 at 100 repeat in the pool. Short rest, 15 seconds, just go for it. 5,000 K, 5K.
Yeah, 50-100s. Short rest.
50-100s.
All right. If you take on this challenge, you must tag Arild in and the Physical Performance Show. You're easily found on Instagram at Arild Tveiten, Tveiten. And Arild, I do appreciate it. You've got your beautiful daughter's 10th, your twin daughter's 10th birthday happening this afternoon, your time there in Oslo, Norway. So thank you for your contribution and for generously sharing once again on the Physical Performance Show.
You're welcome, Brad, and always a pleasure to talk to you.
So there you have it, another episode of the Physical Performance Show, and I trust and I know you enjoyed Arild's share-ins today. Do jump over and follow Arild over on Instagram at ArildT. That's ARILD. If you're not yet following the Physical Performance Show, we'd love a follow as well at Physical Performance Show. And whilst on Instagram, consider uploading a podsy to your story. That's simply a screenshot of the episode that you're enjoying and tagging in the show at Physical Performance Show. We will reshare all of those, and they are always a whole lot of fun. You'll find myself over on socials at Brad_Beer. Always happy to receive feedback about the show or guest suggestions. Now, if you'd like to support production of the show, you can do so by becoming a Patreon supporter. Simply search the Physical Performance Show over on Patreon, and there you can pledge your support from just $5 per month. In return, we'll grant you complimentary access to our live stream events, including the most recent Fueling the Endurance Athlete live stream with UK-based author and sports dietitian Rooney McGregor. Live streams are normally ticketed at $49 per person, but for our Patreon supporters, we'll grant you that complimentary access. Massive thanks, as always, to the incredible team who put this show together. Daryl Misson, audio engineer, Susan Wilkin, administration, and Matthew Oldin, graphic design. Now, it is near the end of 2021, and it's time for our top 10 episodes to come your way. These are always very popular as a way of ending out a calendar year. Now, coming up on next week's episode, we reveal our top 10 featured performers. Now, how these are determined are simply the number of downloads per episode within 30 days of episode release. This ensures that our statistics are accurate and that if a guest appears at the start of the year, they do not have an advantage over a guest that appears later in the year. Now, we know it's not a competition, but this is always a lot of fun. So who will feature in our top 10 featured performers? Find out next week. Now, following that, we'll also reveal our top 10 expert edition guests of 2021. Until then, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.